You're listening to Tripod, the Tricycle Creative podcast, produced for anyone interested in being a better digital and content marketer. Host Ross Erosion is a marketing coach, content creator, and entrepreneur who brings you helpful tips, social media updates, inspiring interviews, and his own unique perspective on how to tell your story and grow your business. So sit back, relax, and let's get pedaling.
I'm a huge fan of this episode's guest, Jamie Steele. You might remember her from a prior interview I did with her on Tripod. She's a productivity specialist and digital organizer. So I was really curious about how her business has been impacted with so many people and businesses spending so much time at home. In this 2020 Rewind episode, you're going to learn about Jamie's 4 M's of productivity, the work she's been putting in to incorporate coaching into her business, and you're going to get a slew of fantastic goal setting and productivity recommendations. Jamie, thank you so much for coming back to Tripod.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here and catch up with you and your listeners.
It's been shameful that, I think it's just a good habit for me, and I would even say for my listeners to stay updated on what's going on in your world, because I'm such a fan of what you do. Why don't you just take a quick second, I know I just kind of introduced you, but I want you to do it in your own words, right? Just so I'm not misrepresenting. Tell everyone out there a little bit about yourself and your business.
So I am a productivity specialist and digital organizer, like Ross said, and I help people find space in their calendar so they can focus on their passions. And I teach my clients to be brave with their technology. That's everything I do. I'm like, what app can we use? Can we make this easier? I understand some people aren't in the digital realm yet, but I think that that's kind of where we're heading, where we already have an app for everything. It's just figuring out how to utilize them to suit your needs.
And I think, we talked about this on our last episode. Let me just tell everyone out there, if we haven't even started chatting yet, but you're going to be interested and excited about, really, I think Jamie's skill and what she brings. We did a podcast. Oh, I should have looked this up before we went on, but there is another episode I did with Jamie. So you can look that up on Tripod. And we talk really all about productivity, which we're going to delve into on this, but not so much. This, again, we're doing a 2020 rewind, and I wanted to connect with those creative entrepreneurs that are in my network that I respect, that I feel like have kind of added a lot of value to my life and business. So I brought Jamie on because I did want to reconnect with her, but I wanted to share it with you, the listener, as we talk through this year, 2020. So Jamie, let's look back a little on 2020. Let's just skip over some things, I suppose, but let's look back. And what was one kind of maybe the most significant good thing that happened for your business in 2021?
Well, it's still happening. Once the lockdown started and quarantine started happening, I decided to invest in my business by taking coaching courses. So I'm on my 3rd course right now and learning so much, not only about myself, but how to better serve my clients and help the learning we do around productivity to stick just that much more. So
when you say coaching classes, let's specify that a little. I'm very curious about this. Did you take classes essentially or work with someone on how to develop a coaching aspect of your business, or did you yourself bring on a business coach? And I know those sound like the same, but they are slightly different.
Yes. So this is actually a course that will help me bring coaching into my business so I can coach clients.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And there are courses I can take eventually to go over processes and systems and really have a solid foundation for the coaching. But what I've learned is The biggest difference between coaching and consulting is coaches view the client as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. The client has the answers. Whereas a consultant, you're coming in as the expert. So this has been a really big switch for me because I'm used to being the expert. I don't know it all, but I know how to find it.
So I like that you've spent the time and you made the decision to work on the business, or at least invest more, if you will, on working on the business. I mean, in addition to I know, like
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, they're in it. They're in it no matter what. But you made a very conscious effort to invest in the business and actually start to work on how you can develop. I mean, it sounds like almost like kind of a separate, additional, or complementary aspect of what you do.
Yes, it will require a little bit of rebranding when I finally get to the point where I can call myself a coach, and that's coming soon. So I graduate next year.
Oh, okay.
To 2021.
Yeah.
But it's really exciting. It will complement and be an additional service.
I mean, I think that's a big thing during, I mean, obviously the biggie of 2020 with the pandemic is, I think a big challenge has been finding ways to almost keep yourself energized. And when you own a business or when you're looking to start a business, or I mean, in life, period, like, keeping yourself engaged and energized. I'm coming fresh off of an extended weekend.
Mhm.
And I mean, I haven't took a vacation and I can't even remember. And it was great. So I think talking about those challenges, has there been a really significant challenge for your business um, in 2020 that you'd like to share?
It's funny you mention it, but it has been my energy level. It's I think I've heard it referred to as the Corona coaster. Just up and down. I'll be highly motivated one week and working on marketing and blog posts, and then the next week I've hit my limit. I just can't do anymore. So I've really had to learn to recognize when I'm about to hit my limit and stop before the limit is reached. And I'm doing that through self-care. My meditation practice has, oh my goodness, I've taken my meditation practice to a new level. It's
Good on you. I applaud you on that. I'm such a big believer. And actually, one of the other guests I'm having on this series, this mini series, we talk a lot. Alex Geekus, we're going to talk a lot about meditation and self-care. So that makes me really happy to hear that.
Yeah. It's been an education because I thought I was good at self-care. And then this happened, 2020 happened, and it was like, oh, I can rev this up a little bit more. And it's made all the difference. It really has. And knowing it's when I work with clients, I've developed the 4M approach to productivity. And it's managing your priorities, managing your tasks, managing your calendar, and managing your energy. So that's part of the work I'm doing with clients already, is really making that list of self-care tasks before you need them. So when you do need an immediate dose of self-care, you have a list going and you say, oh, you can just close your eyes and put a finger down and say, that's what I'm going to do to recharge.
I think that's a big thing too. It's like an aspect that I always kind of, I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but about productivity and planning is that, you have the tools ready and available, which I think to some extent diminishes a little bit the anxiety that you will get, right? That you understand kind of where they are, what they are, And yeah, you're never going to live a stress-free, conflict-free life, but you have the tools readily available for that. I have a question for you. Do you find, when clients have been coming to you during this time, you know, are are you giving them kind of the same advice that you find yourself following, or or maybe even what additional advice are you giving clients who maybe are coming to you, as someone who's helping them with their productivity, and it's like, oh, I can't, I'm on the downward of the Corona coaster.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing I tell them to do is take a break. Just to put that oxygen mask on and recharge, and then to look at things. There's that whole eat the frog theory in productivity, where you do the hardest thing first just to get yourself over the hump. And I think during this time, it's the little wins. So I'm really asking people to start small and start where they are, and then build the momentum from getting the smallest task done. You can build up to the bigger task. So,
and I think a big thing there too is, even when you have that big task, it's the old adage, like, how do you eat an elephant?
Right.
One bite at a time. We don't condone elephant cannibals here or elephant eating, just to be clear, but how do you do it one bite at a time? And the idea that how people even create that task list. I think one, like specifically for digital marketing, would be like, oh, I'm going to write a blog post. And it seems so simple. It's like, oh, I'm going to write a blog post. But then every time it pops up, you're like, so instead, taking that and condensing it into minis, like, okay, I'm going to outline it first. Right. Then I'm going to write 2 paragraphs, right? Okay, check those off. And to your point, those wins start to add up, and you at least feel like you're moving the ball along.
Right. Absolutely.
So I have a question for you, and maybe you've kind of answered it somewhat partially already, but what do you plan to change or improve about your life or your business? And again, as an entrepreneur, usually those are very much intertwined, in 2021.
The biggest thing I am changing is that I will no longer do in-person client work. I've come to that decision recently. I haven't been doing in-person client work, but it was always the question of when people have started calling and saying, when can you come? And I'm sticking to, I work virtually via phone or Zoom. I'm following my own best advice and following my energy levels. It's always easier to say than to do. So I try and keep that in my zone of, this can always be better. I'm going to be offering more virtual classes. So I'm going to do some on-demand classes in the next year. That's one thing that 2020 has really hammered home for me, is that you need multiple streams of income. Like, if I'm just doing in-person clients, then
that's a conversation I've had with my clients. And an interesting one that came up, I had a client who kind of built out an online aspect of their business. And we were talking about it, and he said, well, what happens when coronavirus goes away? Which, well, that's a separate topic for a separate day, whatever. But when it goes away, I said, well, here's the great thing. When it goes away, you now have this fantastic problem of having 2 revenue streams.
Right.
That's a great problem to have as a business owner. Everyone wants to, oh, shucks, I have 2 revenue streams. Oh, darn it. That's a great problem to have. So have people pushed back in conversations or assessments or consultations that you've had? Have people pushed back on the virtual only?
I had one person who pushed back, and then she changed her mind.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
So, and this is a change for me. I mean, this year has changed people's thinking, because in the past, when I rebranded about a little over a year and a half ago, and I was giving the option, I was getting mostly local people, and I was like, would you like to work in person or would you like to work virtually?
Would you usually go to them in
I
those
would,
situations?
and they would request it. They would
Yeah.
not, they did not want the virtual option.
Mm.
And then, to be perfectly honest, it's my client base dried up this year because of it. It was like, there was a long,
Well, think about all that time. I mean,
yeah,
that's time. You know, I am going to make an assumption that you're serving clients in, let's just call it, the greater Austin area,
right,
and that can span. You know, that's it's not as big as like a Houston, if you will, but it's a considerable amount of time to spend in a car. If you're going and you're going to spend an hour somewhere, let's just call it 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, that's an hour round trip. That's conceivably an hour that you could do virtually with another client.
right. You're absolutely right.
And I think it's been great for a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, this transition, or almost this change of mind, if you will, that coronavirus has brought with virtual, right? That it's more acceptable, it's more understood, right? And I think people have kind of gotten comfy with it. I'm in the same boat. I haven't met with a client in person, I mean, since March, you know, probably even before that. And that's fine. Like, business goes fine. It moves on.
Yes.
You know, and you know, as a fellow productivity enthusiast, I am go enthusiast. I won't go as far as professional. That's your jam. Enthusiast. I mean, I just see there's a lot of value from that. I mean, to be had. So, and I think I want to also further explain, it makes all the more sense with what you do, because it's not like you are a professional organizer.
Right.
That's a very important distinction people need to understand. You're not a professional organizer. You're not going to come and clean someone's garage, and nor is that a service you're offering digitally. That's not what you do.
No.
Again, you're a productivity specialist and a digital organizer. So helping someone get their digital life, which, I mean, I would argue now is probably even more complicated.
Yeah.
Have you had anything come up with people now that their kids are like homeschooling and they're trying to juggle calendars? Has that come up with any of your clients?
It has, and not specifically with my clients. I tend to work with women who are in their 40s and 50s, but I have actually done some presentations for high schools, and we're talking to the parents, and hopefully the students are listening in about how to organize Google Drive and how to organize Gmail. How to make their calendars work for them. So it's fun. It's interesting. I have a middle school child, and he doesn't necessarily listen to what I say.
Imagine that. I would have never guessed that would be the case. Shocker.
His drive is a mess, and I don't think he's ever checked his email.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So the apple falls a little far from the tree for now.
Right. For now.
Well, all right. That's fine. That's okay. That happens. Well, I think, you know, I do, you know, you and I both being in Texas, also kind of an epicenter of coronavirus cases. You know, I still have not had any pushback even on new clients that I have brought on. And I've been very clear about it to say, this is what we as an agency are most comfortable with, whether it's with my contractors, with myself, obviously, as it connects to my family. You know, my comfort zone is doing things virtually, you know, and if that's not for you, then that's not for you. But I think more often than not, that's what they're hearing.
Right.
You know,
I think so too.
I think it's more the norm.
And I think you hit on something really important, is that people now understand how to use Zoom. They got brave with their technology. They pushed the buttons and they clicked around. So they now know how to utilize the platforms, and it makes it easier. I mean, I've been to the doctor like 4 times during this pandemic, but it's all been virtual.
Yeah, the telehealth.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, me too.
And
It's been
I
interesting.
love it.
Yeah, I know, me too. I mean, most of the time, like the off times I have to go to the doctor, I'm certainly no doctor, but I could say, feeling icky of this. I think it might be a cold. Okay. It's like, if it's something major, that's not the case, but I think a lot can be done.
Yeah.
And I think it just wasn't presented as much because it just wasn't as accepted or wasn't as much of the norm. So my last question for you, and you can answer this with multiple answers, because I told you, I suspect that you are coming in strong on this question and query. What recommendations do you have for the creative small business owner entrepreneur out there? What recommendations do you have? And I say recommendations and leave it wide open. It could be a show, an app, a song, whatever. I will yield the floor to you and excitedly write down probably all the things you're going to share.
Well, I highly, highly, highly recommend an app called SkedPal. That's SkedPal. This is for time blocking enthusiasts. If you like time blocking, SkedPal schedules your tasks for you based on your priorities. So you plug in your tasks and you plug in, I want to work on marketing from 10 to 2 on Mondays and Thursdays, or whatever your categories are, and it plugs those tasks into those buckets. The best part is when you get off track with your time blocking, which I think everybody does. You have it all planned out, and then something happens and your plan is worthless. SkedPal has a button that you press that says update schedule, and it rearranges all of your tasks based on where you are in the day. It is.
Yeah, it's auto magical. I use it. It's pretty great.
Do you?
Yeah. I enjoy it very much. And for those of you who are struggling with that calendar, I'm with you. It's great. And I believe, if I remember correctly, there's a mobile app also. It's a companion app. So SkedPal, SkedPal.
Yeah.
What else? Is there anything else that you have that you would recommend?
For those who are not digital planners, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt. When I found this planner, I think it's been 2 years now that I've been using it, which is amazing for me because I generally switch my systems just based on my.
You and I are alike. We are tinkerers.
Yes.
In that, I would say, we are curious, incredibly curious, and we're always trying out new things, and we're seeing how it can be kind of like combined into our existing things that we really like. So I know how you operate because we're similar in that way.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, to your credit, if you go back, like our last episode, which was 3 months ago, we went through a lot of things. So again, I recommend you go back, Jamie Steele, listen to that Keep Pedaling interview on the Tripod Podcast. You can also find it at tripodpodcast.com. These were 2 of the tools you recommended then also. But
really?
But I think that's huge because it speaks to the fact that clearly these are not flash in the pan tools.
I think they are in my toolbox for the long haul. And the thing about the Full Focus Planner is it literally has everything in one book. It's a 3-month planner, but you've got your goals, your ideal week, if you're time mapping or time blocking, habit trackers. It's all in one place so you can review your goals every day, make sure you're staying on track. Did we talk about Focus Me last time?
No, that's a new one. Okay. Come at me with that one. I like to hear that. All right, go ahead.
So Focus Me is an app that you can schedule routines to block distractions. So you can shut down the internet, or you can shut down specific websites. One of the things I like, there are other apps like Freedom for iOS that does similar things, but one of the things that Focus Me has is a Pomodoro timer.
Nice.
So it will shut everything down. Then when it's break time, you magically have access again.
Nice. I love a good Pomodoro timer. We have talked about that on some, I can't remember. I know I talked about that recently, but it's kind of a cadence of time blocking. I think the best way to explain it is like some time on, off, time on, off. And they kind of repeat, but it's kind of like I don't know, you would best describe what a Pomodoro is.
Yeah, so you were doing a great job.
You're being way too kind. I was a babbling fool. Yeah.
No, I usually do like a 25-minute work session, focus session, then a 5-minute break, and that's a Pomodoro. You do 3 of those, and then you take a longer, like 20 to 30-minute break. And it really helps you. It helps you for a couple of reasons. You do get into a cadence, that focus break, and your mind can really get into a state of flow. But it's also, there's something called Parkinson's Law, which is work expands to fill the time allotted for it. So when you're giving yourself a limited amount of time, you're more likely to get that task done.
And that's a super easy one, I think, to start with for those of you, maybe if time blocking is intimidating to you, you can get any number of different, well, there's Focus Me, which she just mentioned, obviously for the phone. But I will say there are certainly, because I have one, I'm looking at it right now, Chrome extensions for the Pomodoro timers that you can put on your web browser, and you hit it, it'll have a little timer next to it, and when it hits up, what mine does is it kind of like comes up on full screen, so it's like a full alert, and so I'll take a 5-minute break, that kind of thing. I think it's a good kind of like dip your toe into getting control of your time so that your time doesn't control you.
Yes.
Right.
I agree with that. It's a great place to start.
And it's super simple. It's, it really is. It's okay. If you have literally, if you just start there and have no other structure, it's a good place to just start to flex the productivity muscle.
Yes.
Right.
And I do have a podcast I'm listening to.
Okay. I love a good podcast.
The podcast. Well, I haven't been listening to many because I usually listen to them in my car.
Sure.
And I'm not.
I do the same thing. But what I've tried to do is mow my lawn more, because that's all the time when I listen to my podcasts. So my wife is loving it. Just loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've really been enjoying Unlocking Us by Brene Brown.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I feel like she's done multiple books, so I can't say I've read her book, but I've read a book by her and I really enjoyed it. And Unlocking Us podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she's talking to all kinds of people, and it's about shame and guilt and just being your most genuine self. And I think in this time, like you said in the beginning, where we're all so separate, but there are pieces of us that are coming closer together, I think it's a great podcast to listen to.
Yeah. I mean, when we weren't recording, I was talking to Jamie just a little bit about the premise of this. And so for those of you listening, I came up with this premise of doing this 2020 rewind, not only just because obviously it's the end of the year and everyone does some kind of like look back thing, but honestly, I had a personal experience where I reconnected with people from my distant past. And, I felt transformed by it. And now is a time, we've talked about it on this very show about your energy levels get low, and when energy levels get low, other things can also get low, your self-esteem, your confidence, your happiness, that kind of thing. And I think it is, weirdly enough, a time when you do kind of want to turn and reconnect or keep those connections solid, because, we, without this seeming a little cheese ball, I mean, we are all really in this together. And I think you'd be surprised that it's not really a selfish move. I think there's a lot of people out there who may not even know it, but they also need the connection. So with that very heavy note, I want to thank you for being on the show. I will ask you, just because I don't know if maybe you had more, and if you don't, that's okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, so let's recap. We have SkedPal, Full Focus, Unlocking Us, and then the time block. What was the Pomodoro one?
Focus Me.
Focus Me. Those will all be in the show notes, tripodpodcast.com. You can find them there. Is there anything else you would like to share, Jamie, as we kind of come to a close here, with those creative business owners, with those entrepreneurs who are, working on themselves and working on their business for now and for 2021?
Keep working. It's I wish I had the link handy, and maybe I'll send it to Ross and he can put it in the show notes. But there's this, I heard this song the other day called the Keep Going song. And it's just this chorus of keep going and some of the challenges we're facing. And I think if we just keep making those little steps forward, that we'll see big changes, and just keep going.
I think I realized very early, just myself starting my business, that it was going to be something that's important to the people I work with. So when I tell you out there to keep pedaling, it is not with just empty words. It really is an important thing to keep moving forward. And I would say Jamie is one of those people who can absolutely help you figure out how to keep going. And that is why, I truly do value her as someone, not only just in my personal network, but I absolutely consider her a friend and a resource. So Jamie, where can people find you or contact you?
So I have my website, tidyyourtime.com. And you can reach out to me. I love talking to people. So schedule a tidy talk with me. We can either help you solve a small problem you're having, or I can tell you more about my services. I'm mostly on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but I've been taking a little bit of a break. But
I've been noticing you doing a little more email stuff.
Yes, yes.
You enjoying those.
Good. Yeah. I took a little break from that the past month too, sure. But I'm getting back on track. I do have a Facebook group too. If you're looking for accountability, it's called Positively Productive. I do a weekly thread where you name your top 3, and then we check back at the end of the week to see how you did. And there's productivity and digital organizing tips throughout the week.
I love it. So please, again, if you are out there and you're struggling with your productivity, or for that matter, if you want to just be better at it, you don't have to be bad at something to want to be better at it. I think that's an important thing. If you want to, almost even have this outside third party, if you will, assess what you're doing and help you with your challenges. When it comes to productivity, obviously she's on this show, so I clearly recommend Jamie for that. And again, that's why we're kindred spirits. I really feel like what we do at Tricycle Creative, I help people figure out their marketing course of action. And I'm big on productivity because, as Jamie started out explaining what she does, is helps them control their time so they can, kind of focus on their passion. It's why I'm big on productivity, is because if you're constantly in the weeds as a business owner, you're probably not going to be doing the things that your business needs you to be doing, the unique things that you bring to the table as the owner. So Jamie, thank you so much again for joining me on this 2020 Rewind. And for those of you out there listening, please connect with her, tidy your time, find her online, schedule some time with her. And until next episode, as always, I encourage you to keep pedaling.
Thanks for listening to Tripod. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. Show notes can be found at tripodpodcast.com. Connect with Tricycle Creative on social media at Hello Tricycle and learn more about how we can help you with your marketing at tricycle-creative.com.